When I talk with principals, the one common theme that I see that's a huge struggle for them is setting boundaries, boundaries with their staff, with their secretaries, with the parents, and with the students. This week, we're going to talk about how to set boundaries. Hi, everyone. My name is Daphne Walbridge from the First Year Principal. I'm a superintendent of education, and I help new and aspiring principals thrive as conscious leaders. So boundaries, this is a good topic. And it's a touchy one because many people do not like setting boundaries. Why? Well, because they don't want to be disliked. They don't want to be the bad person, right? They don't want to be mean. That's how they're interpreting it anyway. However, what they're not realizing is that when you don't set boundaries, you're actually hindering your productivity. You're hindering the quality of work you can deliver. And as a result, you can't show up fully for the people who need you. So I want to, show you as a new leader how you can set boundaries from day one with your staff, for example. Of course, you want to be available to them, right? You want to be able to have an open door policy and you can come to me anytime and I'm there for you type of mentality, but it comes at a price. And even that should be boxed in and you should let them know how you're boxing it in. So the first way to do this is by establishing a communication protocol. How do you want people to communicate with you after hours, for example? Text, email, phone calls, and when? Midnight? During dinner hour? So this is something you're going to have to think about. Do you want people to text you at all hours of the night or have 24/7 access to you? I, for example, tell my principals you can text me anytime. However, if there's an emergency, you can call. You're going to have to call because after 7 or 8 p.m., I don't check my text. My phone is downstairs charging. Okay, so if there's an emergency, you're going to have to call. For example, emails. If I'm going to send an email to one of my principals, for example, on the weekend, I don't send it on the weekend. I will program it to be sent first thing Monday morning at 8 a.m., because I don't want them being bogged down with that weight of having to respond to me. Okay, so this is something you can be mindful of. So you also need to model what a boundary is. So for example, you can tell your staff, you can text me. However, after a certain hour in the evening, I do not respond to texts. So if there's an emergency, you can call. This is an example, okay? Or you might say, I don't check my text once I get home. You're going to have to email me because I check my emails. Whatever the case may be, you're going to have to figure out what works for you. But make sure you go inward and you figure out what your communication style is and how you want to be contacted at home, because being a school leader, you will, you're kind of on call all the time. So you need to kind of set those boundaries from the beginning. Okay. That's the first way. The second way is to send out your weekly work schedule to your staff. You're the instructional leader of your school. Never forget that. Although you have managerial tasks, which comes with the job, you don't want to be bogged down by only doing managerial tasks. You want to set aside some precious time to conduct walkthroughs. Okay, that's super important as a school leader. You need to be walking around, getting into those classrooms daily to see what's happening. But how are you going to do that if you're always, extinguishing fires and dealing with emergencies? So that's very important. You need to really prioritize and determine, first of all, what is an emergency, what can wait, and how are you going to block off chunks in your calendar, daily calendar, to make sure you have time for walkthroughs and addressing pedagogy. And the best thing to do is to send out a weekly, calendar to your staff, letting them know when you're going to be doing some instructional leadership work, when you're going to be conducting your walkthroughs. And that is sacred time where you cannot be interrupted. Okay, so that's very, very important. And make sure that you reinforce this. So that's very important. I know that Jason Bader Justin Bader, who is the author of Now We're Talking. Really, he's the expert in walkthroughs, class walkthroughs, and he really talks about this beautifully in his book. It's called Now We're Talking by Dr. Justin Bader. I highly recommend the read. The next boundary, how you can set a boundary, next strategy would be, well, basically that's it, right? It's just to cap off everything. It's to make sure you have a communication protocol with your emails, your texts, set out your work schedule ahead of time, so it's blocked off. And then there is one more here. Send out communication. Okay, just to recap, the 3 strategies are, the first is to determine a communication protocol with your staff, how you want to be reached at night, especially. The second is to program emails so you're not bothering your staff on weeknights or during the weekends, so you can time your emails to go out. That's also coaching them as to how to have them communicate with you. And the last one is to send out a weekly calendar to your staff to let them know when you're going to be focusing on instructional leadership. And this also shows them that you are prioritizing pedagogy, right? And that you are making that a priority and that you're not just a building manager. There. So I hope this video was of service to you. Boundaries is a huge, huge issue. And, as I've been interviewing principals over the last month, I've seen how this has been a really, really big struggle. They don't want to have people overwhelmed around them, so they take on extra tasks, secretarial tasks, for example, and they're going to put more onto their plate. And the more they do that, the less they have time to be instructional leaders, and then they get burned out. So it's a very vicious cycle. And I hope you reflect on this and you create a plan as to how you're going to set boundaries in your career as well. So please make sure to leave a comment down below. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to grab a copy of my book, The First Year Principal, 52 Practical Lessons to Help New Principals Thrive as Conscious Leaders. And you can also sign up for the free course that comes with this on my learning platform, learnwithdaphne.thinkific.com. I'll leave the links in the description box of this video. Thank you, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.